Squid Game Season 2 is out and the Daki Man is back. But who is this mysterious recruiter who targets the desperate and dead-ridden people in Squid Game? In this video analysis, we look at the Daki Man and Gi-hun from an archetypal and astrological perspective. We also look at their respective actors. Furthermore, we discuss the homeless people in the episode and why God's grace seems to escape them, as well as the significance of the number 777. The result of the episode might be shocking, even provocative, because it shows that archetypes that we might hold dear can manifest in both negative and positive ways, and in positive ways within a negative circumstance. Also, we go into the law of frequency because it shows that whoever we are is where we are. Hope you enjoy. In the season opener of Season 2 of Squid Game, we meet a new Gi-hun, an angry Gi-hun. Gone are the days of the quirky, mostly easygoing gambler and dead, who sees the best in people even if there is nothing truly to see. This is a stolid Gi-hun who is doggedly determined to use every penny he made from the games to end the games. Before we continue, I want to mention something we might call intuitive casting. You see, actors with a particular astrological profile often play roles that are aligned with certain prominent planetary placements that they have. Jung-jae, the actor who plays Gi-hun, has sun in Mula. Mula is one of the 27 nakshatras in Vedic, lunar-focused astrology. Actors with this nakshatra are often cast in roles as the last standing, the one to uproot evil and defeat the monster. Mula natives, people who have Sun, Moon, or Ascendant in Mula, often play characters who defeat, tame, or civilize a beast or monster of some kind. Emma Watson and Léa Seydoux play Belle in the respective American and French version of Beauty and the Beast. Their Mula profile can also be seen in other roles. For instance, in Harry Potter, Emma Watson's character Hermione is grabbed by the giant Grob, whom she tells to put me down. And in Dune Part 2, we see Léa Seydoux as the Bene Gesserit Margot Fenring, who is the only one to really tame the beast Fate Rautha when she tells him to kneel. Another famous example is Naomi Watts in Peter Jackson's 2005 adaptation of King Kong. For more on this, I would highly recommend checking out Claire Knight's YouTube channel. She's an excellent nakshatra researcher and esoteric scholar. I'm gonna post a video on Mula in the video description. But back to Squid Game. In the first episode, we see Mula native Lee Jung-jae looking for a less hairy and more polished and at least outwardly civilized monster in the Daki Man. Gi-hun's overarching goal, of course, is to uproot the organization behind Squid Game and effectively end it. And of course, the people who sponsor the Squid Game is a group of psychopathic billionaires who are wearing animal heads. In this endeavor, he's brought together a team commanded by none other than the loan shark he was running away from in the season opener of Season 1. The task of the team is simple. Find the Daki Man, bring him to Gi-hun, and get him to tell him everything he needs to know about the secret organization behind the Squid Games. Ever since Squid Game Season 1, people have been obsessed with this guy. Who is this smirkingly suave recruiter? What's his story? What's his connection to the organization? How does he rock a suit that well? And can he slap me next? When Gi-hun's team finally after days of surveying every major train station in Seoul, find him, we the viewer, blue-balled at this point, get to see our favorite death game recruiter do what he does best, which is to beat the shit out of and smack the shit out of desperate, dead-ridden people in a good game of Daki. Before being utterly manhandled, hopelessly trapped, and sadistically made to play rock, paper, scissors -1 a la Russian roulette against each other, the former loan shark with a 10-carat golden heart turned trusting confidant for Gi-hun and his second-in-command follow the elusive Daki Man to a park where he offers each homeless person one of two things: a piece of bread or a lottery ticket. The catch? They can only pick one. As can be expected from a show that challenges our basic faith in humanity, all but one pick the bread. As for the others, they grab the coin they are handed and they scratch, hoping and praying for their lucky number 777. Now the odds of winning the lottery, as all of you know or should know, is basically impossible. Yet that infinitesimally small possibility, illusory and deceptive though it is just too enticing for the hungry and the desperate to ignore. And so they pick the lottery ticket, scratch it, and hope to get the third 7. Now, the number 7 is actually quite significant in Squid Game. In the final episode of Season 1, Gi-hun visits Oh-il-nam, aka Player 1, the founder and owner of Squid Game, who's lying on his deathbed on the 7th level of a building in the financial district of Seoul. In Hindu, Jewish, and Islamic sources, God's throne is held to be on the 7th heaven, and in Hindu mythology, Brahman is said to live there. From this perspective, the people scratching the lottery ticket, hoping for that number 7, is in a way praying for the grace of God to save them from their economic situation. But what is it that they truly want? What is it that any of us truly deep down want out of money? In esoteric Christianity, the 7th heaven is where the soul rests with God. We must imagine profound peace, prosperity, even abundance in this state. And isn't that what we all want? Isn't that what we, in a way, think that money will buy us? Happiness and peace? As for the full number, 777, it's an angelic number associated with good luck and fortune. It's a sign of positive change to come. Luck and fortune, unfortunately, is not what these people receive, no matter how much they wish for it as they scratch the lottery ticket. The last 7 ever evades them. The divine grace never comes. Why is this? Why does God not help one of these suffering souls and land them that damn ticket? The reason is simple. They're not praying to God. They're praying for money. And as Jesus says in Matthew 6:24, no one can serve 2 masters. You cannot serve both God and money. They're not evil per se, that's not what I'm saying. Rather, they've been socialized into a city, a country, a world really, with immense wealth inequality, and where they're told and taught that money is the way out of rather than deeper into financial servitude and degeneracy. And so they look to money, not to God, not for a more spiritually aligned path, for a way out. As I stated earlier, Oh-il-nam rested on the 7th level of a building in the financial district of Seoul. This is where Squid Game truly comes from, because this is where him and his pals dominate the capitalistic casino, which has been set up so that they win and everyone else lose. Despite the fact that the economic game is rigged, even the homeless people, when offered the opportunity by a charming, well-dressed man, will try out their luck for the chance of winning a game that's been stacked against them since they were born. And still they think they can win. And so they scratch away with the golden coin, praying for those 3 7s whose frequency they utterly fail to match. Thus they stay in the money matrix, trapped within the confines of Cain's city east of Eden, far removed from paradise where true peace, prosperity and abundance is to be found. In the Bible we are told that Satan, who is the god of this world, has blinded the minds of those who don't believe. This world is the world of Maya, or illusion. It's the world of matter, materiality, money. A zero-sum game where the more they have, the less you have. Hence why they don't want you to have that much. Indeed, Squid Game is based on the capitalistic mechanisms in our society. In a sense, we are all playing the Squid Game to one degree or another. This breeds selfishness, and if you're not careful, considerate, conscious, the quicksand of the world of materiality will sink us deeper into sin, into selfishness, into evil. Now, 777 represents salvation from sin, but alas, there can be no salvation for the spiritually dead who pray to money and not to God. As long as we align ourselves with our lower, selfish and materialistic nature, we will continue to have money govern our lives. And instead of worshipping God and having a more spiritual connection to the universe, we will instead worship that piggy bank hanging over our heads as an omnipresent reminder that money rules the world. And so we lean forward in prayer position, scratching away the lottery ticket of financial desire, hoping for number 7. It's heart-wrenching and frustrating to watch. The Daki man obviously also finds this frustrating, as evident by him stamping into smithereens the bread they didn't take. As we know by now, he's a man obsessed by choice, chance, and thus duality. From him offering the people to either pick the red die key or the blue die key, to him offering the invitee to keep the 100,000 won or to join the Squid Game to win way more, to him offering the bread and the lottery ticket. So who is this man? I'm not going to analyze his backstory as staff and executioner at the games. Instead, I want us to go deeper into the heavenly heights of astrology and into the watery archetypal depths. As it so happens, the Daki themselves provides us a hint of the man's true identity. Take a look at them. Am I the only one who's put in mind of envelopes? This is a curious coincidence, for as the Daki man himself says, I'm just the messenger who delivers invitations. He's the medium, the one to extend invites to desperate people deep in debt to join the games after they prove themselves willing to undergo physical pain and humiliation. He's also willing to deliver messages the other way around, as he tells Gi-hun, give me the message and I'll pass it along. If we were to associate our handsome Daki man with an archetype, it would be Mercury, also known as Hermes, the elusive, playful, ever mischievous messenger god who Zeus dispatches with messages to mortals and gods alike. Mercury is also the god of travel and transportation, which is why the Vanderbilts had him as the focal point of their statue group above the entrance of Grand Central Terminal in New York City. And which place is the Daki man associated with? Train stations. The actor playing the recruiter, Gong has Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Leo in the Aleister Nakshatra, which is ruled by what? Mercury. Mercury being conjunct Jupiter makes his Mercury very strong. The reason for this is that whatever Jupiter touches is delighted. Kind of like many girls would be very delighted by being smacked by the Daki man, but I digress. Since intuitive casting is a thing, we see the strong Mercury in Gong play out in the character of the Daki man. He's a highly skilled communicator, a highly skilled manipulator. Mercury is of course the trickster god of communication, with the planet having to do with games. The planet thus also rules rules, which is why that a person with a good Mercury, despite perhaps being quite the trickster, will always follow the rules, which is exactly what we see with the Daki man, who follows the rules of his own game to the bitter end. While Gong is not an Aleister native, that is, doesn't have sun, moon or ascendant there, he does have Mercury in this Mercury-ruled nakshatra, hence why I think it's worth mentioning. People with a prominent Aleister are self-restrained, possess quite a blasé, non-caring attitude, and have an inclination towards deceit and manipulation, despite of, or maybe perhaps because of, this nakshatra being the most feared nakshatra. It's highly seductive and can lure you in with its hypnotic serpentine charm. And indeed, the symbol of Aleister is the serpent, which represents Kundalini and hidden wisdom. In the Bible, the serpent of course leads Eve and Adam into the death by successfully tempting them into eating from the tree of knowledge, thus prompting God to expel them from Eden so they no longer can eat from the tree of life that has sustained them so far. Likewise, the Daki man uses his devilish charm to tempt financially desperate and ignorant people into joining a game where they will surely die. Having looked at the astrology, let's move into a Kabbalistic and tarot analysis. In his Thoth tarot, Aleister Crowley associates Mercury with the sphere of Chokmah, the second sphere upon the tree of life, which is really where duality occurs, because this is where we leave God behind. It's the creation of polarity, it's the separation from the divine. At the same time, it's our way to God, hence why Crowley links Jesus with this sphere and also with Mercury. Like Mercury, Jesus is also a mediator. As he says, I am the way, no one comes to the Father except through me. Both Mercury and Jesus are associated with business people and with thieves. Mercury is the god of thieves, And Jesus had relations with the money changers, and his first disciple was actually a tax collector. Note the saying in the Bible, "The Son of Man comes as a thief in the night." Now, our document is no Jesus, but archetypally he plays a similar role to Jesus and Mercury. As Jesus and Mercury are the messenger of God, whether we call him Yahweh, Zeus, so the document is the messenger of Il-Nam and the frontman who takes on the ownership and leadership of Squid Game later on. Both Christ and Mercury are shepherd figures associated with the guiding of flocks, Mercury being the psychopomp guiding the dead into the afterlife, and Jesus guiding the dead into heaven. As for our document, well, he guides the sheep into slaughter, the living into death. Gi-hun's goal is simple. Find the document, get him to tell him everything he needs to know about the organization. But what would Squid Game be without a game? To get the information he needs, he must win over the document in a game. Granted, it's not a children's game, but a game of Russian roulette. Still, despite their lives being on the line, we see that childlike glee of Mercury on the face of the document as they proceed to play the game of Russian roulette, handing the gun over to each other as the tension rises and the odds of being dead by the next pull the trigger increases. His love of risk is furthermore evocative of the Magus card in Crowley's tarot. The Magus is associated with Hogma that we talked about earlier. Hogma being the second sphere, the way from God and to God. In the card, Mercury is depicted playfully juggling various symbolic objects while balancing himself upon the holy mount known in Egyptian cosmology as a tomb. In his analysis of this very card, Gerd Ziegler writes, Mercury balances with great skill on the tip of a surfboard-shaped stand. He moves on the narrow border between white and black magic. That is to say, between good and evil, because the Magus stands above morality and thus can fall either way. As for the document, he chose evil for good, pun intended, when he put a bullet in the third eye of his father, a fate he's been flirting with ever since he started playing Russian roulette. If you live by the sword of Damocles, you'll die by the sword of Damocles. On the document's case, by the bullet of Damocles. Thus, the document exits the show in what is effectively creative suicide. Irrespective of his villainous personality, by going along with the rules of the game he himself came up with to the bitter end, the document admirably shows his strong Mercury, a Mercury he's admittedly used to send who knows how many to the slaughter, all for the entertainment of a few psychopathic billionaires with a cringe sense of humor. The very Mercury that now sends him to the afterlife. There is a poetic justice to this, a justice I'm sure didn't escape the document as he pulled the trigger. The stabber and well-groomed monster done away with, Mula man Gi-hun can now focus on ending the true monster of the show, the organization itself. Thanks for watching. What did you make of the show? Were you happy to see the document return? Maybe a bit sad to see him go? Whatever your thoughts, whatever your opinions, whatever observations that you made about the document, about Gi-hun, about the episode, I invite you to crystallize your consciousness in the comment section below, to smash that like button, hit the bell notification icon, and I'll see you in the next video where we analyze Squid Game Season 2, Episode 2. See you then.